What if you're the only conscious being in existence, and everything else is just a figment of your imagination? This radical idea, known as solipsism, challenges the very foundation of reality. It's a philosophical position that takes skepticism to its extreme, suggesting that the only thing you can be certain of is your own mind. Everything else, other people, the external world, even the laws of physics, could be illusions, creations of your consciousness. Solipsism is not just an abstract thought experiment. It's a profound challenge to our understanding of existence. If true, it would mean that you are utterly alone in the universe, the sole creator and experiencer of reality. But how plausible is this idea? And what would it mean for our sense of connection, morality, and the meaning of life? To explore solipsism, we'll delve into its philosophical roots, examine the arguments for and against it, and consider its implications for our understanding of reality. Along the way, we'll encounter mind-bending questions about the nature of consciousness, the limits of knowledge, and the possibility that we might be the only real beings in existence. Solipsism comes from the Latin words solus, meaning alone, and ipsi, meaning self. It's the philosophical position that only one's mind is sure to exist. Everything else, other people, the external world, even one's own body, could be illusions, creations of one's consciousness. At its core, solipsism is a radical form of skepticism. It questions the very foundations of knowledge, asking how we can be certain of anything beyond our own thoughts and perceptions. This idea has deep roots in philosophy, dating back to ancient thinkers like the Greek philosopher Pyrrho, who argued that we can never truly know the nature of reality. In the modern era, solipsism was famously explored by René Descartes, the father of modern philosophy. Descartes sought to find a foundation for knowledge that was beyond doubt. He began by doubting everything: the existence of the external world, the reliability of his senses, even the existence of his own body. The only thing he couldn't doubt was his own existence, encapsulated in his famous statement, "Cogito ergo sum," I think, therefore I am. Descartes' conclusion was that the mind is the only thing we can be certain of. Everything else, the external world, other people, could be illusions, creations of a deceptive demon or a dream. While Descartes himself did not embrace solipsism, his radical skepticism laid the groundwork for it. Solipsism takes Descartes' skepticism to its extreme, suggesting that the mind is not just the foundation of knowledge, but the only thing that truly exists. In this view, the external world is a projection of the mind, a dream or a simulation created by consciousness. To understand this better, let's use an analogy. Imagine you're dreaming. In the dream, you see people, places, and events that feel real, but when you wake up, you realize that it was all a creation of your mind. Solipsism suggests that our waking reality might be similar, a dream or simulation created by our consciousness, with no external reality beyond it. But how plausible is this idea? To answer this, we need to consider the philosophical and scientific challenges involved in accepting solipsism. First, let's consider the philosophical challenges. Solipsism is often criticized for being unfalsifiable. That is, there's no way to prove it wrong. If someone claims that only their mind exists, there's no way to disprove it, as any evidence would have to come from their own mind. This makes solipsism a deeply unsatisfying position for many philosophers. It's often seen as a philosophical dead end, a position that offers no practical insights or solutions. As the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein put it, solipsism, when its implications are followed out strictly, coincides with pure realism. The self of solipsism shrinks to a point without extension, and there remains the reality coordinated with it. Second, let's consider the scientific challenges. Solipsism is fundamentally at odds with the scientific method, which relies on the assumption that there is an objective reality that can be studied and understood. If solipsism were true, then science would be nothing more than a study of one's own mind, with no connection to an external world. What if time is an illusion, and past, present, and future all exist simultaneously? The block universe theory suggests that time is like a frozen river, with every moment eternally fixed in place. This idea, rooted in both physics and philosophy, challenges our everyday experience of time as a linear, flowing phenomenon. Instead, it proposes that time is a dimension, much like space, and that all events, past, present, and future, are equally real and exist simultaneously. The block universe theory is not just an abstract concept. It has profound implications for our understanding of reality, free will, and the nature of existence. If true, it would mean that the passage of time is an illusion, and that our sense of moving through time is nothing more than a trick of perception. But how plausible is this idea, and what would it mean for our understanding of life, death, and the universe? To explore the block universe theory, we'll delve into its scientific foundations, examine the arguments for and against it, and consider its implications for our understanding of time, free will, and the nature of reality. Along the way, we'll encounter mind-bending questions about the nature of existence, the limits of human perception, and the possibility that our lives are already written in the fabric of the universe. The block universe theory, also known as eternalism, is a view of time that arises from the theory of relativity, formulated by Albert Einstein in the early 20th century. According to relativity, time is not an absolute universal constant, but a dimension that is intertwined with space, forming a four-dimensional structure known as spacetime. In this view, the universe is like a block, a four-dimensional structure where all events, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously. Just as space extends in three dimensions, length, width, and height, time extends in a fourth dimension with each moment fixed in its place. To understand this better, let's use an analogy. Imagine a DVD of a movie. The entire story exists on the disc at once, but when you play the movie, you experience it moment by moment, frame by frame. Similarly, in the block universe, all events exist simultaneously, but we experience them sequentially, moment by moment. This idea challenges our everyday experience of time as a flowing, linear phenomenon. We perceive time as moving from the past, through the present, and into the future. But according to the block universe theory, this perception is an illusion. In reality, past, present, and future are all equally real and exist simultaneously. One of the key pieces of evidence for the block universe theory comes from Einstein's theory of relativity. According to relativity, the passage of time is not absolute, but depends on the observer's frame of reference. For example, time passes more slowly for an object moving at high speeds or in a strong gravitational field. This phenomenon, known as time dilation, has been confirmed by numerous experiments, including the famous Hafele-Keating experiment, which showed that atomic clocks on airplanes ticked at different rates than those on the ground. Relativity also suggests that there is no universal now. What is present for one observer might be past or future for another, depending on their relative motion and position. This challenges the idea of a universal present and supports the notion that all moments in time are equally real. But how does this fit with our everyday experience of time? Why do we perceive time as flowing if it is, in fact, a static dimension? Some scientists and philosophers argue that our perception of time as flowing is a result of the way our brains process information. Our brains are wired to perceive the world in a linear, cause and effect manner, which gives us the illusion of time moving forward. But in reality, time might be more like a landscape, with all moments existing simultaneously. If the block universe theory is true, what does it mean for our understanding of free will, destiny, and the nature of existence? Let's explore these questions in detail. Let's consider the implications for free will. If the future already exists, does that mean our choices are predetermined? Are we merely following a script written in the fabric of spacetime? This idea challenges our sense of agency, the feeling that we are in control of our actions. If the future is already fixed, then our sense of making choices might be an illusion. Some philosophers argue that this undermines the concept of free will, suggesting that our lives are predetermined and that we have no real control over our actions.